4 sets of B&B owners have stayed in each other's places
It's like Pat Butcher's earrings.
and judged one another.
I'm really quite shocked.
Impressed, you mean, not shocked?
No, I'm shocked.
I'm the only true alpha male here.
Today, with all the visits over,
I think to give you 2, I was being very kind.
I think that was a little bit of an insult, really.
the payments,
I think the strategy is to always underpay.
and the winner are revealed.
The winner is...
With 4 in a bed, did anyone get a good night's sleep?
I just thought it was a complete joke. I mean, I don't know if she thinks she's the Queen or something.
It's the final day in the competition, and the rival owners are meeting for the last time to discover what they've been paid and to settle some scores. Teeing things off is Gaynor Walker.
Right, here we go.
She hosted first at the Nateby Inn in Cumbria,
Hello, my name's Gaynor. Pleased to meet you.
where Bob and Georgie soon made themselves at home.
Oh, yes, that feels comfortable.
But Graham and Julia spied an intruder.
It doesn't bother me, but there is a cobweb up there.
And Andrew and Claire had trouble fitting in.
It's small. More than 2 nights in here might be a squeeze.
Come feedback, Gaynor almost cleaned up.
Give a 10.
Yeah.
But not with everyone.
There are just 2 tiny cobwebs above the bed, but that really doesn't bother me.
How clean was Nateby Inn? A 9? No, I did expect a 10.
I don't think Gaynor appreciated our feedback at all.
If they have to be so pernickety, then they obviously couldn't find many faults anywhere else.
Now they're face to face, Gaynor wants to get the measure of Andrew and Claire's room issue.
How did you sleep at Nateby Inn? A 9.
It just felt a little bit claustrophobic.
When you go to book it, you can actually choose to go into a Super King if you wish. I wouldn't describe our rooms as being claustrophobic. They are quaint, but I definitely wouldn't describe them as being claustrophobic.
Next, Gaynor tackles Graham and Julia on their cobweb encounter.
I was actually very, very shocked to see that because we do thrive on being absolutely spotless when it comes to our cleanliness.
I saw them out the corner of my eye, but they really don't bother us.
So is that why you knocked a point off?
Yeah, just 1 point for that.
If the cobwebs didn't bother you, how come you took a point off?
Because they were there, and it may bother somebody else.
If they didn't bother you, why take a point off? I'm not being difficult, I'm just
Purely
wondering.
because they were there.
OK.
I was quite surprised at Georgie's sort of outburst. I think they're missing the point. If you're scoring on the cleanliness, that is a cleanliness issue.
His reply to me was that it might bother someone else, but this is about how Julia and Graham feel about the room, not about, oh, someone a year down the line might find 2 cobwebs.
Now Gaynor can see how she fared in the payments, starting with Bob and George's £90 room.
40, 60, 80, 90 pounds. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it, thank you. Bob paid me in full, and I think Bob's that type of person where I would imagine Bob to actually overpay everybody because he's just that type of lovely person.
Next, it's Julia and Graham's payment for their £90 room.
20, 40, 60, 80.
That's an underpayment of £10.
We've effectively taken £5 off for the issues that we highlighted, and then the £5 was basically just our feeling on
Right.
value for money.
Right. I think Graham and Julia will underpay everybody. Maybe not to Andrew and Claire, because they do get on extremely well with them.
We're quite happy with our payments. We don't wish we paid anybody differently at all.
Finally, it's Andrew and Claire's £90 room.
20, 40, 60, 85.
That's an underpayment of £5.
Why did you underpay us?
The major issue was the size of the room for us, more than anything else. I just felt 85 was about right.
With Bob and Georgie from At Home paying on the nose, Julia and Graham from Outfields Farm underpaying by £10, and Andrew and Claire from Ammonite Lodge underpaying by £5, Nateby Inn receives 94% of the total bill. Next under the spotlight are Graham and Julia Ashley.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
When the guests arrived at Outfields Farm B&B and self-catering cottages in Bedfordshire,
Hello!
Bob and Georgie quickly bedded into their room.
I bet it's comfortable.
But in their cottage, Andrew and Claire weren't going with the flow.
Bathroom is very nicely designed.
Yes.
It's just a shame that the water pressure is a bit weak.
And at dinner, Julia's joking didn't tickle Gaynor's fancy.
I was operations director for a software company.
Were you like a troubleshooter?
If there was problems with the software, if there was problems with the business, I could fix them using the software.
I thought that was a little bit disrespectful, more to Georgie, because to me, you wouldn't do that to a guest.
At breakfast, Gaynor wasn't bowled over by the crockery.
There's your porridge, Gaynor.
My porridge was served in a bowl with a chip in it, and if I was at home, I wouldn't have had it.
The only one that gave us any real criticism was Gaynor. I think she was clutching at straws a little bit.
And Graham and Julia want to deal with those criticisms first, starting with why Gaynor didn't see the funny side.
Great hosting, taken a point off because Julia's joking was a little disrespectful at dinner.
So was it the snoring?
Yes.
All right, OK.
When Georgie was speaking to Graham, I thought it was a little bit disrespectful.
I know exactly what you mean, but it actually, I was still laughing about Graham and one of his, you know, elongated stories. It wasn't in any way meant for you.
I think Julia was disrespectful to Georgie. She says she wasn't, but I think she was, otherwise I wouldn't have said that.
Now Graham's got a chip on his shoulder about Gaynor's breakfast feedback.
Only lost a point for a chip in the bowl.
I don't like to go to places and find, if I get a bowl and it's got a chip in it, I would normally not even eat out of it or drink out of it because I'm so fussy.
But a cereal bowl that's got a little chip in it, you honestly wouldn't eat out of it.
The amount of germs that are transferred through chips is absolutely, you would not believe it.
I just thought it was a complete joke. I mean, I don't know if she thinks she's the queen or something. Do you handle cash?
Yes.
Cash has got more germs than a loose seed, honestly.
Yes,
but you wouldn't eat out of a chip bowl. Sorry, I just think that's really over the top.
Good old Georgie. You know, who would not actually eat out of a bowl that's got the tiniest little chip out of the pottery?
I was a little bit surprised, you know, that Georgie found me being a little bit harsh. But chip crockery, to me, is extremely important.
Now Outfields Farm can see how they fared in the payments, starting with Andrew and Claire's £120 cottage plus a £5 per person supplement for breakfast.
60, 80, 100, 125.
That's £5 less than the asking price.
And do you mind telling me why you've underpaid us?
Not at all, no. I think the main reason was actually the shower and the water pressure. We both agreed we would take £5 off.
Absolutely, we need to look at that.
Next, it's Bob and George's room in the main house at £65, including breakfast.
40, 60, £70. So you've actually overpaid.
I regret it now.
Thank you very much indeed.
That's an overpayment of £5.
I thought it was very good value. I thought £65 was cheap.
I mean, it was my absolute dream of a bedroom. I loved it.
Biggest surprise of the day is that Bob and Georgie overpaid, which is an absolute delight. I really didn't imagine somebody would.
And finally, Gaynor's £85 cottage plus a £5 supplement for breakfast.
40, 60, 80, £85 in total, so...
Bloody hell, that's too much.
Yeah, it's my money now. So, Gaynor, you've underpaid by £5 there. Do you just tell us why?
It was just overall. It was nothing, one thing in particular. It was just the whole sort of thing.
Pleasantly surprised that Bob gave us an overpayment.
Yeah.
And both of the other underpayments are really just token underpayments.
With Ammonite Lodge and Nadeby Inn both holding back £5 and At Home overpaying by £5, Outfields Farm receives 99% of the total bill.
I think all the other three competitors have a strategy, and I think the strategy is to always underpay, but not underpay to such an extent that it looks as though they're playing a game.
It's the final day of the competition to be crowned Best Value B&B of the Week. 2 sets of owners have already tallied up their payments. Next up is the week's 3rd host, Bob Osborne.
OK, it's the moment of truth.
On arrival at Home in London,
Hey!
Bob!
there were no big surprises for Andrew.
My first impression of Bob was scruffy, very clearly anti-establishment, laid back. I think we got him pretty right, actually.
But not everything was coming up to scratch for Gaynor.
Oh, my God, that's minging. The things I was really worried about telling Bob was the cleanliness.
Next morning, Bob's no-show at the self-service breakfast was a no-go for Graham and Julia.
This guy gets up at 11, does what he wants. We could never operate our B&B in the same way that Bob does. That's just not in our DNA.
At feedback, Graham and Julia didn't sit on the fence.
More like a hostel more than a B&B.
3.
Yes, dear.
And when it came to the crunch, everyone was singing from the same song sheet.
I wouldn't stay here again.
It has to be a no.
Sorry, Bob.
Sorry, Bob.
I don't really care what their opinions are of my bed and breakfast. I'm full up most of the time. You know, if it ain't broke, why fix it?
First, there's a stain on his reputation Bob wants to take up with Gaynor.
So how clean was at home? Got a lofty 2.
I think to give you 2, I was being very kind.
Actually, I'm delighted with a 2.
Exactly.
There isn't a mark for 0, so I could have broken a record on that one.
You know how fussy I am. I think Bob knew he didn't stand a chance about my level of cleanliness, so I don't think I will have offended him because he knows what I'm like.
Gaynor is definitely the harshest critic there. But you were going to say?
But Julia and Graham are not far behind her.
Next, Bob's got a bone to pick with Julia and Graham.
How was breakfast at home? 5. A Bobless breakfast. A Bobless breakfast, does that mean you didn't have Bob for breakfast, or...?
Yeah, he did come down and see us. We wanted to see
If I'd been
you.
on the menu, would you have been happy?
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
I want to see more of you.
Why?
Because you're entertaining. So interesting.
Why'd you come to London and stay in a bed and breakfast and want to hang around the host all the time? I feel as though that I'm being penalised for being such an interesting person. I think they got muddled thinking on that because they want to see more of me, but they don't want to come back to my house.
And hostilities continue as Bob has another score to settle with Graham and Julia.
How were the facilities at home? 3. So, a hostel more than a B&B. I've never had it described as a hostel before. I think that's a little bit insulting.
It's not meant to be insulting because it's not that we're decrying a hostel, but the way that it's sort of operated, the way you do it, which is fine, and that's how you want to do it, is more sort of a latchkey, in you go, and that's your room, and there isn't the sort of titivation, if you like, of a B&B as we would recognise it. So that's why we said that, but it wasn't meant to be rude. I did feel a little bit awkward because, you know, you sort of score it when you do it and you put it out of your mind and then it comes back to haunt you. You think, did I really do that?
I think it was slightly insulting, and I don't think it was constructive in any way.
He thinks his place has got far more to offer. So obviously he did take it as an insult.
And finally, Bob's keen to put to rest his hat-trick of no returns.
I've got 3 no's, but I can't say that I'm that upset. Although, you know, I would love to see you all again. It'll have to be in your houses.
Beautiful.
And then we can
Even
have a
better.
breakfast.
Then I get breakfast. Yeah.
I think he was a bit disappointed, Bob, that nobody wanted to go back, but I think he understood the rationale and the reasons and the nature of it all.
If the other contestants underpay me, I will be very surprised, given the fact that I really do think I represent the best value for money in this competition.
Now Bob can discover if his guests are of the same mind. Starting with Gaynor's £45 room.
20, 35, and 2 makes 37.
That's £8 off the asking price.
You didn't get much more as a room goes for the single to what you did in the double. That's what I felt. The reason I underpaid was because the single bedroom was a lot more per person than the double bedroom.
Gaynor has proved to be a competitive lady this week, and I do think she would love to win this.
Now it's Andrew and Claire's £60 room.
40, 55.
Yeah, lucky you got that much.
That's a £5 shortfall.
I think for the cleaning side, just for the bedroom, definitely. When I said, oh, why did I not want to pay him, I said, the cleanliness. I think he nodded and went, OK.
Finally, it's Julia and Graham's £60 room.
30, 40, £45.
That's £15 less than the asking price.
I think £45 is a ridiculous amount to pay for a double room in a house such as mine. Do you think that's fair?
We paid based on sort of the similarity we felt between your room and a hostel.
I think to go £15 under, it was a huge amount.
It's very harsh.
You've got to take everything into account, though, haven't you?
Yeah, we differ on opinions
Yeah.
there, but it was a big underpayment in terms of percentages. We had expectations that it was a B&B, that it would have certain standards, and it didn't deliver those.
They haven't paid anyone the asking price, and the reasons they haven't done that, to me, are quite trivial.
We've got no concerns whatsoever about the feedback we've given Bob, and we stand by our payment. I don't think anybody has been playing games as such.
With Nateby Inn underpaying by £8, Ammonite Lodge underpaying by £5, and Outfields Farm underpaying by £15, At Home finishes with 83% of the total bill. Last in the spotlight are Andrew and Claire Ashmore.
Let's get over and done with.
When they hosted at Ammonite Lodge Guest House in Chard, Somerset, Bob and Georgie were pleased with their pad.
Well, it's a sweet crib, isn't it?
And Gaynor couldn't dish the dirt.
Can't fault behind the back of there. Absolutely spotless.
Next morning at breakfast, Andrew's hosting skills weren't to everyone's taste.
Can I get anybody anything?
Thank
Do you want
you.
to catch up? Teas, coffees?
Lovely, thank you.
I think he needs to lose the clipboard,
Yeah.
and I think he just needs to relax. Didn't quite hit the mark.
I did see a little bit of a nervousness with him. He just wanted to please so much.
While Bob thought his fellow guests weren't playing fair.
Shouty! Could we have some toast?
Yeah, well...
Brilliant.
Andy was under pressure. You know, I think it was a bit harsh them putting him through his paces like they did, but I think he did very well.
And at feedback, Graham and Julia's comments hit a nerve.
How was breakfast at Ammonite Lodge?
You're not going to like
Guest
this. Slightly manic service.
house? Manic? What does that mean?
Manic,
Really? No, that's wrong.
Now they're face to face, Andrew and Claire want to tackle Julia and Graham's feedback.
How was breakfast at Ammonite Lodge Guest House? And we got an 8.
Yeah, may I?
Oh, here he goes, here he goes.
Any glasses?
He's ready for it now.
Slightly manic service.
You're busy.
Yeah, I know. I'm happy, exuberant, cheerful, bubbly.
You came across to me as if you were trying so much to please everybody.
But I do.
Yes, but a little bit too much at breakfast time.
So manic to me sounds...
You were?
It's your exuberance. Andrew just needs to temper his personality slightly, just so that, especially first thing in the morning, you're all just sitting there for breakfast and it's like, wah! And it's a bit, ooh.
I don't think I need to be more laid back. No. In fact, I hope that the guests and customers, from what we hear, accept us as we are, and it's what they want.
But Bob has Andrew's back.
I thought Andy had a lot to cope with, and I thought a couple of the other inmates were deliberately trying to put him under excessive pressure in order to see him have a complete meltdown. You kept your composure really well. I wouldn't have been able to do that, I can assure you.
I was surprised he spoke up.
It was a nice moment.
It was.
It was, yeah.
I was actually quite surprised with what Bob said, that, me and Graham were putting them through the test. All I asked for was some white toast.
Now Andrew and Claire can see whether their guests came up with the goods. starting with Bob and George's £80 room.
60. 80. 85.
That's a £5 overpayment.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Oh,
Absolute ball.
We're
really nice.
Gobsmacked.
Thank you.
Seriously, thank you so much.
Next is Julia and Graham's £80 room.
Please count the money.
Not here. 20. 40. 60. 70. 75.
That's an underpayment of £5.
£5 off for...
We just felt we couldn't pay the full rate, having made some small criticisms.
The fate of Ammonite Lodge now depends on what Gaynor paid for her £80 room. But that crucial payment is being kept secret for now. So it falls to Andrew to reveal the results.
This is a very tense moment. 4th place, here we go. In 4th place, we have, at home, Bob. Well done. Well done, Bob. Well done.
I feel as though I've won morally and in most ways. You know, the most fun was had at my house, so that's what I'll be, taking away with me.
In 3rd place, we have Nate Bein. Well done, Gaynor.
I'm not surprised we came third. There is some people in this competition that wanted to win it more than me and did that little bit extra to get there.
Which means first place will go to either Outfields Farm or Ammonite Lodge.
This is incredibly tense. The winner is... The winner is... Outfields Farm. Well done. Bravo. Fantastic. Well done, mate. Really well done. I'm not actually disappointed that we came second. You know, we know we've got some issues and we need to work on them, and we're aware of that.
Nate Bein underpaid by £10. Outfields Farm underpaid by £5. And At Home stumped up an extra £5, leaving Ammonite Lodge with 96% of the total bill. Not enough to beat Outfields Farm, while this week's winner.
Congratulations to everyone. Well done.
Well done. We didn't win this easily. We had to put an awful lot of effort in to win it, but yeah, we deserved it.
May I present you with your 4 in a Bed award plaque.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Team
Team Ashley smashed it. Oh, literally.
Literally.